You're listening to MinerTalk on demand exclusively on 600 ESPN El Paso. Stay up to date with MinerTalk by downloading the free 600 ESPN El Paso mobile app. All right, we are live. MinerTalk is here, presented by the Oscar Arieta Agency, along with a full house here in our 600 ESPN El Paso River Oaks Properties studios. I'm Adrian Broadus. We are presented by the Oscar Arieta Agency. They help you with your home, your auto, your life, your business, commercial insurance needs. Trust the local experts at the Oscar Arieta Agency. He is the official insurance agent of the UTEP Miners. We've got a packed house. Zay Galindo, fresh off the men's basketball broadcast, alongside Sal Montes. What's going on, Sal? Fresh off the UTEP football broadcast. Here since probably 10 in the morning, maybe 9 in the morning, maybe here all day.
I camped out for Black Friday.
Camped out for Black Friday. There you go.
It all the way to Saturday because I love it that much. Man.
you stayed, you hung around, you ready to talk some UTEP football minor talk, ready to talk some UTEP basketball minor talk. We've got Alberto Reta here as well. And then we've got a special guest in our studios. He is minor great Jason Williams, all-time leader in triple-doubles at UTEP. First time ever to do it at UTEP as well. And he is here in our River Oaks Property Schoolyard Sports Studios for the first time this season, fresh off our watch party out at the District West, 3233 North Mesa. But, Jason, we don't get to talk about a UTEP victory tonight. Loyola Marymount defeated UTEP 67-47 in basketball. In football, UTEP was killed against Liberty 42-28. Jason, welcome back first off here to the program. Thank you so much. You do so much here in this community. You're a coach. You're active throughout AAU. You're active throughout high school and youth basketball, and you do a lot of training on the west side with your own gym itself. But I welcome you back to the program, man. Thank you so much for joining us here. It's great to have you. Get close to that mic. How's it going, man?
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you for inviting me. For being here, and I always enjoy coming here and talking sports and talking UTEP with you guys.
It's always great to have you, Jason. Let me ask you this. This is the first time you watch this UTEP basketball team, and I know we've got a lot to talk about. We have to open up the can of worms when it comes to UTEP football. There is definitely a debate and an ongoing discussion on what's the future for the football coach and what's going to happen. But for basketball, this is the first time you got a chance to watch this team. This team is now 5-2. They went 1-2 in their road swing. Give me your first reaction of watching UTEP basketball here in this season.
I think they play a lot better on offense together than the previous 2 years. The defense is really good as always. Of course, the team is a lot bigger at the guard spot.
Yes.
So that definitely makes a difference, especially in basketball. They're a lot bigger at the guard spot. I was excited for it. I got to watch it and I got to see the guys. I haven't had time to get over there to really check the practices out. But, I was impressed. I think they're really going to make some noise when Conference USA start.
It's going to be an interesting thing because the Miners, to start the season, I think they impressed a lot of people. But these past two games made me feel two different ways. The first loss against Bradley, I felt much better about that loss than I did tonight. Tonight, a 20-point loss to Loyola Marymount, a team that the Miners were, I think they were underdogs, but only like a 3 or 4 point underdog when it was all said and done. Joe said that it was all the way up to 6 maybe. Maybe that was the case. But regardless, it was a team on paper that the Miners were supposed to compete a little bit better against. It seemed like tonight, Jason, the Miners just lacked a big man interior presence. They really they suffered against that zone defense. They still haven't figured it out offensively how to score against the zone. And then I look at just what they did on defense. They struggled inside the paint. I mean, points in the paint ended up being a big thing for Loyola Marymount, getting 22 points down low. Total rebound, they killed them on the glass, 41-32, including 8 offensive rebounds for Loyola Marymount. So maybe that's the difference of this one, not to mention the fact that the Miners only shot 30% from the field and 12% from beyond the arc. You got to hit three-pointers in today's college basketball world.
Yes, most definitely. Basketball is a game of making shots, and like you said, I think UTEP lacked size tonight in the inside. They had two very big guys, and they really controlled the paint. So by UTEP not having that big guy that can score, I think it stopped them from getting a lot of easy buckets. And so the guards was always forced to take tough one-on-one shots.
Yeah.
But, other than that, I think they did good. They fought hard. And they just got to continue to stay with it. It's their first year together. Every year it seemed like it's all new players, with the portal.
Yeah,
so,
it's true.
To say that they just got together, they already starting off pretty good. And it was a long road trip, not to give excuses. But, I think next game they'll be better on offense. I think tonight the other team was just was prepared for the game, so they went zone, went man, and then after that, the big man just kind of clogged the paint on defense for them.
Yeah, and I thought he was the difference of the game down the stretch for Loyola Marymount, number 15 for them. I was really impressed by what he was able to do in this game. The Miners, and that was Thiemann, by the way, or Thyman, whatever it was, but he had 13 points down low, 9 of 10 from the free throw line, really helped and was impactful there. Miners, they struggle for scoring from beyond the arc. That's something that we thought would happen throughout the season, but it really was exposed tonight in basketball. Now, we'll shift it over and we'll talk a little football too. We're going to do kind of a twofer, right? We're doing both UTEP football and UTEP basketball. We'll take our calls either way. 915-505-6009. We've got a lot to talk about with the football team. And Sal, I think we have to start in the post-game comments and everything that happened post-game, because let's be real, Sal, you and I knew the outcome of this game before the game even kicked off. We knew what was going to happen. This was an undefeated Liberty team against a UTEP team that was waiting for the final game, waiting for that final whistle to blow, and so their season would finally be over. That was their, mentality, philosophy. Anybody could come out here and talk to me about effort and those garbage time touchdowns. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear how this one was close. That was the first reaction that came out of head coach Dana Dimmel, that they made it a close game, fighting to the end. They created more for them in the passing game, created turnovers. Liberty played very well and controlled the time of possession, according to head coach Dana Dimmel. Dana Dimmel also talked about how, when he was asked by voice of the Miners, John Teicher, on what's next, John just threw a softball to him. And he just said, hey, what's next? Well, what's going to happen in the future? And it was a really good question, and it was hinting at what's happening with Dana Dimmel in the future. And he said, hey, we go back to recruiting. We need to fill the voids. We have a lot of production coming back, so we have a lot of returning guys. He said 9, but they graduated 10. He said only 10 guys were graduated today. And then he said, it's important for us to generate NIL money. It's just part of college football. Keep some of the players on this team. And then he also finished it off when John was closing it out. He said, hey, I'm really proud of the way the guys fought through adversity this year. So those were all the comments from Dana Dimmel. Then in the post-game interview, our pal Joe Rodriguez and our other pal Colin Deaver from KTSM, they both asked separate questions about the future. Joe Rod said, hey, injuries aside, what ended up happening this year to make it an unsuccessful year? And Dana Dimmel talked more about the injuries, how it was a tough schedule, how they've faced things that they haven't really faced in the past, and it was a slew of injuries that really hurt them when it was all said and done. Then Colin followed it up by asking, do you expect to be back next year? And he said, yeah, he did, for all those same reasons right there. And so that was the bottom line. That was how the post-game interview went with head coach Dana Dimmel on both occasions, both from the UTEP broadcast perspective and from the media scrum perspective. Sal, what was your initial reaction hearing all of this? Because I'll give you mine, but I want to hear yours first.
I think it was a similar, questions aside, so to speak, because I think those are tailored for each game, right? But I think we kind of heard that before. We've seen this episode before, UTEP getting routed and, hey, what went wrong for you in the game? And they dug themselves in a hole, couple of injuries, and before you knew it, the game was out of hand. So I really didn't take too much, other than finally the last game of the year. Let's see what the future really holds. What is the next move for UTEP? Because I think that mindset is what's been going on really since since that game against Sam Houston, where they won that game, but it was still you got the vibe for what kind of team, what kind of record the team would have to close things out. So it's really just been questions people have been wanting answers for about 3-4 weeks now.
Yeah, and I don't know.
That's being generous.
Yeah, and that is being generous, right? Because a lot of fans came to us middle of the season and said, "Hey, why doesn't UTEP football fire mid-season?" And we maintained all throughout that time, wait till the end of the year, wait till the end of the year, wait till the end of the year. And it turns out that at the end of the season, they are not ready at the end of the year for the post-game press conference to announce any sort of changes, and their head coach wants to be back for next year. So what we've been tossing in our brains, we didn't let that reality sit in as far as them firing the coach mid-season, but we did think about how this would end up happening, right? We contemplated a couple different things. Could Dana Dimel retire? Could Dana Dimel step down? Could he announce his resignation? I think those three possibilities right there are out the window. I think those, you cannot count those as being a reality anymore.
Yeah.
Knowing what we know right now, knowing what he said during the postgame. So all that's left, Sal, is a possible firing or a possible buyout, like a contract buyout, however you want to say that. Part ways. If I get a release on Monday that says UTEP and Dana Dimel are parting ways for his final year, if they say something like that he is, then that just tells me firing. That says the UTEP athletic department will fire head coach Dana Dimel. So I don't know what to expect for these next couple of days.
Yeah, and the interesting part is Thanksgiving week is already in the books now. And the reason I bring that up is there's no reason, no logical reason that I can think of to extend any type of post conference. And let's just say that the last game was last week, and they don't want to do anything this week. I get it because of the holidays, but I mean, I'd be looking for something soon. And of course, the longer you don't get it, I think that's another sign for what they're planning to do in the future.
Zay, we'll bring you here onto this. You were at the UTEP football game. We'll get Alberto's thoughts in just a little bit. But for you, Zay, let me ask you this. Let me just throw it out to you right now and throw the possibility. Could you see UTEP bringing Dana Dimel back next year for everything that we've seen today? Also, Colin saying that Jim Center said no comment when asked for a comment about what was going on at the end of the game?
Yeah. Yes, I definitely can see them bringing him, Dana Dimel back, much to the dismay of a lot of fans. But it's definitely a thing that could happen, right? Obviously, I'm not saying I'm not advocating him to come back, but he has a year left on his contract. Is UTEP willing to spend that amount of money to let go of a coach? And we've seen it before. Softball, they've been bad for 5 years under, I'm not saying 5 years, for a few years under TJ Hubbard. They were horrible last year. They brought him back for another year. And softball, football, that's apples to oranges. That's a completely different situation. All I'm saying is, does UTEP have the guts to let go of Dana Dimel after yet another disappointing year?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I'm not sure what the answer will be when the athletic department has to finally answer this one. Before we get to Mike out in Austin, I'm not sure what he wants to talk about, whether it's football or basketball. Let me get out to Alberto, and let's talk a little bit about this one. Alberto, you tell me a little bit about the game itself, because the Miners go down early and Liberty's running the ball all over UTEP. They went up 28-7 at the half, and then in the second half they kind of eased up a little bit. Miners scored 21 in the fourth quarter to try to make it look a little nicer than it did. How did you react, or what were your takeaways from this football game, just in a purely game standpoint?
Well, it just not the best football from the Miners, and I think that all things considered, I'm just glad, Kelly Akari got his 1,000-yard season, and
Good point.
I'm glad that it's over. I think that's the best thing I could say.
I think a lot of Miner fans feel the same way, that they're happy that they're at the finish line. They're happy that they're there. By the way, great point on Kari. Over 100 yards today, 5 catches, 109 receiving yards, and he had no touchdowns in this one, but he had that big 64-yard reception. Sal, I hate to predict. I hate to do this, but if I go crystal ball prediction, I think Kelly Akari is on a Power 5 team next year in the fall. So that's my thought. That's just an early prediction right there.
Well, we'll look at the productive season that their last top receiver had. I mean, obviously there's reasons tied into him leaving. However, that didn't tie into recognition from Power 5 schools for attention offers. So and let's be real too. UTEP is not going to be the only school that's potentially poached by other schools. That's just the name of the game.
Good point. Hey, breaking news: New Mexico fires their head coach Danny Gonzalez after 4 seasons. 4 seasons there, Zay. That's do you consider that a long time in today's college football world?
Yes, I do. And it's a different situation. Obviously, Danny Gonzalez never had a winning season at New Mexico, but they did show some improvement, and they're letting him go early. Or I'm not sure. Did they ever give him a contract extension?
I don't think so. I don't think they actually did, but that's something that we could definitely look up. But nonetheless, New Mexico will be looking for a new head coach. Will UTEP join them? And could 2 new coaches come to this region out here in the Southwest? 915-505-6009. We're talking both UTEP football and UTEP hoops. Loyola Marymount defeated UTEP 67-47, and then Liberty beat out UTEP 42-28. Miners go 0 for 2 today. Let's go to Mike out in Austin. He's joining us, and he sat patiently waiting to chime in here on Miner Talk. Mike, good evening, man. What's happening?
Hey, gentlemen. First, let's get the easy stuff out of the way.
All right, go for it.
To you all and your families.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving to you, Mike. You've called in every single basketball Miner Talk, and I think a good majority of the football ones too. Before you couldn't stomach them anymore. So, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Hope you're doing well. Give me your thoughts on both these things.
Absolutely. First, you all covered a lot of things already. But first, I want to apologize to Sal for giving him grief at the beginning of the season about how well we were scoring, and then seeing today's production. So chalk that up for Sal. Basketball first. I think word's getting out that we can't shoot from the outside. So they're going to start, big men aside, they're going to start collapsing, like what we saw in the last 2 games. They're going to collapse on our paint, and they're going to force us to shoot from the outside, and they're going to make us beat them. And right now we can't show that we can do that. And that's pretty unfortunate because we've got good looks, and we just don't have the production. Now, that being said, I'm trying to be a little bit positive. There was some information that came out that the team was under the weather, and something is going around right now. No excuses, but after a long road trip, hopefully that played into it, because we did hold Loyola. Even though we shot 30% from the field, they only shot 37% from the field. The problem with it is that we lost by 20 points. That's to hold. If I knew before the game we were going to hold Loyola Marymount to less than 30 or at 37% from the field, then I would have given our chances of winning or being right there at the end. I would have thought they would have been pretty good. We weren't even close.
Sure.
Now football. I don't know what to say about football. You all covered it pretty well. I just don't think that. I'll throw something else in about football. During the broadcast, Teicher said he made a comparison. Actually, he put a little anecdote in there about how what Liberty did with their bus situation. Did you all catch that?
No, tell me. I didn't hear this.
Okay, so he said he had never even heard of anything like this. But normally, when a football team travels, they charter and they contract and charter with a charter bus company that's at that location in order to get the team, from the airport to the hotel, from the hotel.
Sure, I understand exactly what you're talking about.
Back to the stadium, back to the airport. And that Liberty didn't do that. They put them on a charter plane, flew the team out, and they drove their buses, their own personal charter buses from Virginia, all the way down to El Paso.
Flex
to
on
pick
them
up.
Wow, what a flex, Mike. How about that money, huh? How about that Liberty Athletic Department budget, huh?
Now, so that is something interesting, is that when you're looking at another program that just entered your conference and are having so much success, and they had success before then, well, obviously they have deep pockets. But I'm going to throw this in there. You go down the road in Las Cruces to NMSU that doesn't have those kind of pockets, and yet they're still having more success than we are. When you contrast the two, then we're missing something. We're doing something wrong. It may start at the top with the AD. Maybe it doesn't, but at the top, whether it be coaching, whether it be the AD, we've got to make a change, because you're talking two contrast styles of money, of Liberty and not a lot of money from NMSU, and you're seeing both have more success than our program is, who's been in the conference for 19 years. There's a problem.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. Hey, I appreciate the phone call, man. Thanks for weighing in. It's a really good point you bring up, and we've talked about this, so I just want to give you numbers. I'm a numbers guy, so I want to give everybody numbers here so everybody can understand what you're talking about, because the point was made about Liberty, just to show how much budget they have, how much money that they have with their athletic department. They chartered their own flight, and they bussed their own buses all the way from Virginia to El Paso, Texas, probably the furthest away your bus could actually travel from coast to the middle of the Southwest, and then you're just having them pick them up to go from point A to point B. That airport drive from the airport to UTEP, come on, we've got 915 tours that could have taken them on their buses, and they usually do take all the opposing teams on their buses. But the point is, that's where Liberty comes from athletics. That's their budget right now, and unfortunately, money rules a lot in college football. Like Mike just mentioned, money does not rule everything. New Mexico State actually has a less they have less athletic budget than UTEP does. They came into this season $31.6 million for their athletic department's budget. UTEP is $33 million. Okay, so for everybody out there, UTEP's $33 million. Liberty, a whopping $57 million. $57 million. FIU, $39 million, and they're not successful in anything, nor do they have any fans, so no one cares over there. So it's really weird with that. That's kind of an anomaly, but Middle Tennessee being right there, $35 million with UTEP and New Mexico State, those are your bell cows of the conference. Everybody else, they're just scrapping to try to get to that point. Look at the lowest of the low, which is Jacksonville State, $18.3 million. UTEP almost has double that when it comes to their athletic department budget. But point is, money does tell you a lot. Money does bring a lot of things to you in college sports, but it does not mean that if you are at UTEP's level, you can't compete at the Conference USA Championship level. Look at what New Mexico State will be doing next week, Sal. They'll be competing in the Conference USA title game with a chance to hang a banner for this conference, just like UTEP could have had that same opportunity with their budgets that are almost identical.
And I think another thing that makes it stand out is people talk about a rebuild, and there kind of wasn't a rebuild. They hired Coach Kill, and midway through the season is when you started to see things turn around for them. But if we're being honest, it's basically like 1.5 years instead of the full 2 when you look at how they got to where they got to. So that adds into the, hey, if you go after a hire and there's a rebuilding period of 3 years, people could use what Coach Kill did and say, no. They did it in 1.5 years with that right. budget. So we know that UTEP is a tough job. It's no excuse for them to be as how could I say, as poorly as they've been these last couple of years. But I mean, something's got to strike, man. It's weird when you really look at it. The big money and the small money, what's UTEP doing wrong?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't really, you know what? They're just making some wrong decisions when they're putting the right the people in charge at the top levels. I think that's what's really hurting them and putting them back in these situations, because it seems like he could change things overnight. And for Dana Dimmel, he's hoping that year 7 is a turnaround. So I don't know how much you can actually bank on that, Zay. If you can can at all. Now, when it comes to athletic budgets, how do you see this, Zay? Do you see this any differently than it was talked about right now?
Well, you talked about Jacksonville State's athletic budget. It was really low, right? That was,
yes.
And they're paying Rich Rod $1 million a year. So I mean,
there's their priority.
Let's be real here, right? You know, UTEP they don't have the most amount of money that you're going to see like Liberty, but they have money. You see New Mexico State doing it with less. It's possible. Yeah, it's a tough job, but, you know, you got to find the right guy for it, and they've been unable to do that since Mike Price. So, you know, if Dana Dimel is gone, this is a huge coaching search that you not strike out on.
That's right. This is also one that will be looked at in almost like a microscope right there. Hey, Jason, let me bring you back in, because when it comes to athletic budgets, you understand it as well. Even from your perspective, you understand more than anybody playing professional basketball for over a decade overseas that this is a business. Basketball at any level, whether it's now trickling into your AAU world, which you coach here in El Paso, whether it's the highest levels of professional basketball, or now like we're seeing in college basketball, it's a business. And you hear Joe Golding talk about NIL dollars and how NIL has helped benefit some of this UTEP basketball team. But it's interesting when you look at it from a grand scale, the athletic department budgets and how important that has to be for these universities. No, if you have the most money, no, it does not necessarily mean that you're going to be number one up at the top. But it does tell you that you have a lot of resources that a lot of your recruits are going to really benefit off of throughout all these seasons and all these different sports.
Yes, I definitely agree. Just because you have the most money, that doesn't guarantee wins. And I think, the Joe from Austin called earlier.
Yeah, Mike, yeah.
Like Mike from Austin. And he said, it starts at the top. You see these NBA or NFL franchises, when they want to win, they go all in. So sometimes it starts at the top with the AD, whoever's the president, the boosters. If they want to go all in, they have to go all in. I'm sure El Paso tired of watching UTEP lose 7 years.
Yeah.
After being a coach, being here for so long. Me personally, I follow basketball a lot. We had Tim Floyd here for a lot of years.
Yeah, and then Rodney Terry. You were a part of all those shows when we got a chance to talk about Terry.
Yeah, so it's just about the guys at the top. How long are you willing to keep a coach that's not successful?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Zay, you had anything else on that?
No, that's correct, right? How long is UTEP going to give Dana Dimel until they say enough is enough? And is this year, was this loss, was this season, is that enough?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I'm not sure what that question is going to be like until it was all. I think the answer is yes. I think they've gotten to that point. I think that maybe they're giving it the weekend. Maybe we hear something by Monday. And silence is bad. Let me just tell you, if we're talking Tuesday about no response, that's a bad thing, everybody. So just keep that out there. Have a red flag if you don't hear anything Monday afternoon. If it's Monday at 4 o'clock, then get tuned into Sports Talk. That's all I can tell you. It's going to be a crazy one. All right, let's keep it moving. Number one, this is Tristan Pence on social media, 915-505-6009. By the way, if you want to chime in, weigh in on the program. Tristan Pence sends us this post. Number one, Coach Dimel inherited a disastrous football program and has done a good job building the UTEP program back to some respectability. That being said, UTEP will not be on a winning program with UTEP at the helm. His record as a head coach pretty much says it all. Number two, Coach Dimel would be a lame duck coach if he returned next season. It would set the program back even further, and I can't imagine this being the case going forward for the program. It's time for change starting tomorrow morning, and that is coming from Tristan Pence. This coming in from Junior 413. Coach Dimel should have been a politician. He doesn't have accountability or integrity. This is from Grand Paul. The punter is this year's MVP. This coming in from Junior 413. He said, I've been waiting for the announcement that Dana Dimel has been fired. And he sends us a gif of the guy waiting for all of this. Let's go to Tristan Pence on his basketball thoughts. Okay, this is what he says. Number one, very poor effort by UTEP basketball today. For whatever reason, this team wasn't ready to play a basketball game. Not having a true and experienced point guard was apparent. in UTEP's inability to get anything going in its half-court offense. Jason, this is something you said. You noticed this right away. You said, hey, UTEP still doesn't have a true point guard. And every time I want to tell somebody UTEP does have a true point guard, his name is Zid Powell, people correct me and say, hey, look, Zid Powell might not necessarily be, a shooting guard, but he's not necessarily a point guard. He's kind of a combo guard on both sides, and he loves to score first. How did you see it? Do you think UTEP has that true point guard at this point right now? And if not, can you find one in the middle of a season, or no? Do you have to recruit for one?
I don't think they have that true point guard. Like I always say, it's levels to point guards. I'm not sure if everybody understand that. Sometimes you need a guy that can run the show, get everybody organized, make easy baskets for guys. With that true point guard, maybe Khalil might average 10 points now, just from the guy driving and dishing it off to him. So that's a big difference.
I see what you're saying.
So now you're getting scoring inside, even though he's not a good post-up player. Having a true point guard is just really running the show, getting those guys those open shots. Instead of the ball, everybody's going one-on-one or one pass, one shot. He's actually controlling the show, making sure it run nice and smooth.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's interesting because, Zay, do you feel like Joe Golding's ever had a point guard on his coach, like a true point guard of what we're talking about?
I think Jamal Bieniemy was as close as a true point you're going to get, right? I think he facilitated the ball really well. He was a pass-first guy, but he'd get a bucket at times, and we saw games where he was getting buckets. So I think Jamal Bieniemy was really close to that, but like Jason said, it's really hard, to define what a true point guard is, and there's levels to point guards.
Yeah, I felt like they also staggered guys in that final year. It was like Bieniemy, and then once Bieniemy started making shots, then they started throwing Sule Boom at the one, and then it was like Bieniemy was an off-ball guy, and he wasn't really used to being off-ball. He could create his own shot, but he wasn't used to being off-ball. I think maybe that's the secret, Jason, is now we just have off-ball and on-ball guys, and maybe guys who can play a little bit in between, but you kind of have to stay on one side or the other if you're a basketball. I mean, what do you see? Do you see that now in today's game, or do you see that the point guard position is kind of starting to be irrelevant by some coaches?
Well, I think it's starting to be irrelevant, as you watch NBA, guys like Luka Doncic, small forwards are now playing point guard. So teams starting to feel like if I can have a 6'8" guy that can average 10 assists, I really don't need that guard. But it's only special guys that's like that. I really think that having a good point guard in college can set your whole program apart from different programs.
Wait a second. If Jason Williams was playing in 2023, you'd be a point guard. I think so. I think you'd actually be a point guard, right?
Yeah, I wish, but I definitely think point guards are like the quarterbacks. They the head of the snake. They got to run the show, run the team, and they make everything look beautiful. Believe it or not, they make everything look beautiful. A guy like Chris Paul, he might not score all the time, but he just make it look beautiful, make the right play at the right time, and has control of the game, and his teammates have them in the right positions all the time to make a good shot and make good plays.
Did you feel like Bieniemy was their last point guard or true point guard? Who do you remember as their last true point guard?
Bieniemy was pretty good as a point guard. I think he was still learning, how to be a point guard at the same time.
We talked about it. If he had stayed that last year.
If he stayed that one more year, I think he would have been a way better point guard because he maybe would have had that full year at being a point guard. Last year, the point guard wasn't too bad, but he didn't control the show, but he was a point guard. Like I said, there's levels to it. He can bring the ball up, but, it's different when you got to control the show and learn how to be crafty and, slow down, read the game, and, find a guy that's hot, find the mismatches. I think that's important, having that other coach on the court.
Yeah.
To where you as a coach, I don't have to call the plays because he see what I see.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I like that point a lot. Sal, I need to get your thoughts on this, and then we're going to pause for station identification, but I need to get your quick thoughts on this. Maybe we'll do a round table. I think Alberto's ready to talk about this one now because we're getting a lot of posts about it, and I think we have to address it. Junior413 sends us this. UTEP football got it in the chin today. Ouch. The mariachi in the visitor locker room. Wow. That is because Liberty, after the game, they hired mariachis to play and to celebrate their undefeated season. They are 11-0 on the year and finish out the season as the team that will go into the Conference USA Championship game against NMSU. What do you think about the post-game celebration?
You know what, man? I like it because if you can celebrate when you're up and be upset when you're down, that's one thing. But I mean, to consistently allow opponents into your football field and do whatever they want to you, I mean, just do it if you win, man. To the victor goes the spoils, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
I see no reason in them being upset about it, because if they really cared that much, I think they would have improved the team throughout the year to not allow things like that to happen.
Alberto, this is one that you were really, really passionate and really upset about when it initially happened. What about this one made you so upset? When you saw this post, even Barstool Sports found it out, or I mean, they actually reported on it and they threw out the video. What about this video made you really upset?
Well, now that I've calmed down a little bit, I just think it's really disappointing. I grew up here in El Paso. I was born here in El Paso, and just like seeing my city displayed in this fashion, seeing the football team get handled in that way, and then the opposing team celebrating in our turf, bringing in a band, like it's getting difficult for me to talk here. Yeah, it's just disrespectful. They shouldn't even have been allowed into the stadium. The game was over. People shouldn't be going into the stadium after the game is over. Just from that perspective, it's like, how would they get in? Why did the security allow them in?
It's a bad look, right?
Yeah, because it's like they're bringing in a mariachi band, obviously to taunt you. So allowing them to do that, create that content and post it, it's abysmal.
Yes.
It's a bad look for the team, and it's like, and I'm just going to top it off, it's a really bad look for the city. I'm more disappointed for the sake of my city, because now in Lynchburg, Virginia, they think they can come into El Paso, Texas, and do what they please with us, and that's not the case,
Yeah, it's exactly right. What you said right there is how it'll look like this. This is coming in from Lou Romano just off that. He says, picking on a 3-8 team, hiring mariachis before the game, I'd be fine with it if Liberty was at home, but also if UTEP was undefeated. But come on. It's an interesting point, Zay, but maybe when you have that unlimited budget, you feel like you could do whatever, right?
When you're winning, you're winning. When you're winning, you're winning.
Whatever will get people fired up, maybe.
Yeah, and just on the security point, I mean, UTEP security, they're quick to push me out. They're quick to push me out at basketball.
He was saying the same thing, man.
They're quick to push me out. So that's the biggest part I'm salty about. How did they get in?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. Let's do this. Let's take a break right now. We'll come back with Milkman. Milkman, I apologize. You've been waiting forever, so we'll go as soon as we get back from the break. We'll go to you, Milkman. So I appreciate you hanging in and staying with us. We'll talk both more about UTEP football and basketball as MinerTalk presented by the Oscar Arieta Agency continues right after this on 600 ESPN El Paso. All right, welcome back. MinerTalk continues here, presented by the Oscar Arieta Agency. Full house here. Thanks to Mike Rivera, our chief engineer, for stopping by. We got Sports Center all night that we're producing here. Sal, how about that? ESPN Radio will be in the building here later tonight. How about that?
Bring it on.
I love it.
Know a couple of highlights?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe we got a couple Liberty highlights.
They're wearing the other jersey, but it's all right.
That's
highlights
okay.
Nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, let's go back to the phone lines like we promised. We got a full house here. Jason Williams, Miner Great is here. UTEP Zay is here. Alberto Reta is here. Sal Montes is here. I'm here. And Milkman's here. He's next up on the phone lines, 915-505-6009. Milkman, good evening, man. What's happening?
Hey, what's going on, man?
We're hanging in, Milkman. Which one are we starting off with, basketball or football today?
Well, I woke up today going, man, it's going to be a big day of minor sports. So I, took my dad to the football game. Then we hurried home to watch the basketball game. And at the end of the day, I'm like, well, this was nowhere near the way I was hoping it would end up for this day of minor sports. I guess we'll start with football. What can I say? Like some of your other callers have said, what more can be said about the football team? It's about what we expected. It's what we've seen all year. I got to tell you, the less we hear about them making a move on Dimmel is starting to make me think they're going to not do anything about Dimmel. So I hope I'm wrong, but it's a gut feeling I'm getting. I don't know. I'm not sure what your thought is on that.
Well, I said that earlier. Is the longer if let's talk to me Tuesday, Milkman. If UTEP doesn't hear anything Tuesday, then I think there's definitely a reason to be concerned they won't make any kind of change. So I think Tuesday is the tell-all day, right? And wait till Monday, even all the way Monday at 10 p.m. because that's the kind of time that a release like this would come out. So, but it's been. I would tell you this: I've talked to everybody that knows anything about UTEP, and no one knows the right answer. Everybody has a different answer, so no one knows. Yeah. They've kept this one pretty tight.
Well, so that one of the things that's making me think this. I mean, you guys were just talking about it about the small budget we have, which is still bigger than some who are having better success, but that's another subject.
There you go.
But the small budget that we have, like, it's going to cost them what, like $800,000 to get rid of him this year, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like when you look at the numbers, some will tell you 650, some will tell you 550. So just depends on what they agree on with him on the buyout, if that ends up being the case. And there's also a possibility. I've seen this in the past. There, you can also prorate stuff like that. Like, hey, Dana will give you $200,000 for the next 3 years or something like that, or 4 years, whatever that ends up being.
Right. Well, you know which way I'm going, and I got to tell you, if they can somehow move past this now, it would definitely help them get better numbers in the stands, which creates more revenue. Because everybody around us, like, we're all saying goodbye, in the stands, like, all right, see you next year, and we're all like, hopefully with a different coach, and everybody's like, yep, absolutely. I mean, he's lost the fans, he's lost our our passion. It would be very foolish to put up with another year of this, because Lord knows what they'll have in the stands next year. I mean, it's abysmal. So, I mean, I know which way I'm going, and I know which way most of the fans are going. I honestly haven't heard anybody that I've talked to that says, oh, yeah, let's do this another year.
Yeah.
So I really hope they come to the right decision. But, again, I'm not the one doing the numbers in their budget room, so, I don't know. I hope they can afford it, because I think it'll pay off in the long run, because they'll get more people in the stands and the excitement could come back,
Well, on the flip side of that, Milkman, is you're not getting – not only are you on the flip side of this, if you bring head coach Dana Dimble back for another year and let him coach out his contract, you're essentially taking for granted the fan base that you're going to have next year. You're going to have to bank on low ticket sales for prices, as far as prices go, to try to get anybody in attendance. And, those people that you said bye to, they might not be back next year if Dana Dimble is indeed the head coach. I've heard a lot of season ticket holders tell me that they will not renew if there isn't a change happening next year. So I think it goes both ways.
100%. You're absolutely right. I mean, all those things have to be considered when, you're just looking at black and white figures. There's a lot of other intangibles that, have to go into that decision. So no, you're absolutely right. Who knows who will actually be back in the stands next year if they don't make a change.
Hey, talk to me about basketball, Milkman. Give me your basketball thoughts.
So with basketball, I gotta say, I heard you say it, that this is the most disappointing game that we've seen all year, and I definitely agree with that. Their shooting was just abysmal, and we talked the other night about their perimeter shooting, but it was everywhere tonight. Like they just couldn't throw it in the ocean. I mean, it was awful, and it's to the point now with their threes that. And again, I don't want to come off the wrong way, because I was always the one calling you and saying, hey, they need more points in the paint. Don't just come down and fire up a three. Of course, I'm very happy to see the way they're running the game. So that is not my contention, but my contention is, if you're going to fire a three, my God, at least have a 1 in 20 chance of making it. I mean, it's almost automatic that if they're putting up a three, they're going to miss it. Now, it's just that's not good. Now, I did hear your other caller say something about them being under the weather, which I got to say, looking at the way they played, that kind of makes sense. They played like a team that was under the weather. Now their defense was still pretty good. They did for the most part what they needed to do on that end. They just could not make a basket. But it's early, and I think I'm hoping that this is just a fluke. But this is by far the worst game that they've played so far. It should not have been a blowout like that.
No, I agree with you completely there, Milkman. Hey, and I appreciate the phone call, man. Thanks for weighing in. Shouldn't have been a blowout like that, indeed. Zay, can you shine a little bit more about the under the weather statement that was made earlier? I know that you were working the broadcast tonight alongside it was Asher out there in the West Coast, right? Do you know his full name, and what was he talking about on the broadcast as far as under the weather?
Yeah, our guy Asher Lowe, he works with Pepperdine. He was out there for us tonight, and he said something about a bug that went around the team. So,
okay.
They could have caught that maybe at a restaurant. Who knows? It's anything. But they definitely play like they were under the weather. They play like they were out of gas, right? And it makes sense, right? You're on a road trip to California. You're there since Monday. You're playing, 3 games in the span of, under 6 days. So it was I expected it. I think, in Loyola Marymount, they did a really good job at slowing the game down, getting UTEP to, really use up all the time on the shot clock. They did not let them play in transition, which is where UTEP found a lot of success in their past 5 games. So just overall a tough game for the Miners.
Sal, this came in from King Eric. Shooting 12% from 3 is never going to win you games. It doesn't matter who you are. Shooting will always be this team's problem until they recruit shooters. Zone is also this team's biggest weakness. It sounds like a lot of what we talked about last year all across MinerTalk.
Yeah, and I think this year it's a point of emphasis to deal with more zone this year. I think last year they were kind of getting their feet wet, which is strange to say in year 2, but defensively it's a little bit of a different look this year. And I'm wondering what the reason for it is. If they're going zone more, is that because Golding has felt like they've lacked in the zone, which is evident, or are they going zone more because their man defense is not as strong as we originally thought?
So I think their defense is pretty sharp, and they have thrown out some zone in the past before, but offensively, when UTEP goes up against the zone, it just seems like for whatever reason, Joe Golding coached teams struggle when they face zone defenses. That's been one of the issues right now, Zay.
Yeah, it has, and Loyola Marymount, they ran a 1-3-1 at times. They ran a 2-3, and especially when you run a 2-3, right? You're hoping it's bombs away. You should be shooting it, and if you're shooting at a high clip, they're not going to run zone anymore. But UTEP has struggled against zone because it's hard to get the ball inside the paint, and even when they did, guys like Calvin Solomon struggled, guys like Kevin Kalu struggled in the post. So overall, it was just a really tough day for UTEP to score against the zone.
Jason, we talked a little bit about the three-point shooting, and Milkman just brought it up, talking about how he didn't like the shot creations or maybe the shot selection from some of these guys on three-point shots. What did you see in that category?
Like I said, I think they had too many one-on-one plays tonight, and Liberty defense was pretty good, so we could say they probably forced UTEP into those type of shots.
Yeah,
by clogging the paint to where guys felt like they had to go make a quick bucket. Sometimes you just have to be patient and move the ball around until the zone defense open up, and also having that inside presence, it matters.
Yeah,
I think it matters.
Well,
it matters.
So that's one of the other debates, right? Because UTEP's gone small a lot of stretches, and they don't really have a true big man, right? And that's one of the things that maybe is a ceiling or something that holds them back just a little bit. I wonder if that's something that's going to hurt them in games moving forward, because you saw with Loyola Marymount, they had a big man that they just threw against UTEP's big man, and I didn't think UTEP's big man stood up pretty well against them. I don't think they stuck or. They did not necessarily guard the paint as well, but they couldn't score down low. Like their offense down low in the post was almost non-existent, and they didn't even want to go to Hamilton, the big guy. Dos Anjos couldn't score down low. They weren't getting enough from Elijah Jones. Calvin Solomon looked frustrated in this game, so it was just kind of a mess in the front court all around.
Yes, I definitely think so, and I think also by you having that good big man, he can get himself points by getting offensive rebounds. Maybe that'll be a way for the big guys to actually get themselves involved more, to get more offensive rebounds, and I think that'll help open up some stuff also. for the team. And,
Yeah.
they just got to figure it out. Like I say, I like Kalu. This is third year. So
Got to make some shots,
it's huh? It's time to put in the work. You're on offense. It's your third year, so you got to put in the work.
We talked about this a lot, Sal.
And to that point, the second chance points and offensive rebounds for the Miners, that's going to be huge because when you look at what they allowed early on, and I'm gonna go back to the game against Bradley. What they allowed early on was like 6 or 7 offensive rebounds in the first 8 minutes or so. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Bradley finished with 9. So they got better on the glass, but themselves when they were on offense, they were able to get some second chance points. But to that point also is their half court offense is lacking, and what they're better at this year is being in transition, which is helping out that offense. It was kind of shut down today. So until the offense really just improves in the half court, they're going to have to rely on other parts of their game. And, if you rely on it for so long and you're not that good at it, it's just what's available to you, it could seem gimmicky.
Let's go back to the phones. We'll get more reactions from all of us here in a sec. 915-505-6009. Jimmy is next up on the phone lines. Jimmy, good evening. What's up? Jimmy, you there? Hello, Jimmy. Jimmy going once.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Jimmy.
All right. Very good. Want to put, first of all, you guys on the spot. I'm going to tell you, and I love you guys, and I love the local media, but I think today's media versus 20 years ago when you had the Joe Minches of the world, you had the Darren Hunts of the world, they would give it to the UTEP coaches, and I want to put you and Sal on the spot.
Okay.
Do you fire Dimmel if you're the AD?
Oh, of course, yes. Come on, we've been basically saying this entire season. If you've been listening.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I think he's got to be gone. The excuses about the injuries. There were no injuries the first game, and they lost to a team that had not played one FBS season. That was their first game as FBS, and they lost. No injuries, no excuses. I think Dimmel's got to be gone. But hire a young, up-and-coming coach. As far as basketball, a couple of observations. One, Jason is absolutely right about Kalu. He's been in the program 3 years. Cox is the coach. But anytime Kalu gets the ball in the paint on offense, it's as if he freezes and he doesn't know what the hell to do. He's great on defense. He's great rebounder. But offense, you just don't have that inside presence to open up the game for the outside shooters. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask Jason, and I don't think there are a lot of outside shooters on this team, maybe Hardy, maybe Camper, and that's it. But, Jason, are there some players, if you're the coach, where you're telling them you're not going to take the three-point shot? I would say that to Dos Anjos. I would say that to Zid Powell. I would just say, guys, you're not going to shoot from the outside. Just because if you take a look at their rate over the season, both of those guys are probably under 25%. Dos Anjos is probably under 20%. But do you do that as a coach? Do you say you're not an outside shooter? There are other parts of your game we're going to develop, but you're not taking a three?
Yes, of course. After a while, you have to do what's best for the team at the end of the day. But you also want those guys to still have confidence and take that open shot when they're wide open. You just don't want them taking crazy threes or shooting the threes off the dribble. For instance, when I played, we had Miguel Ayala. He was one of the best shooters. But our coach had a rule: if Miguel dribbled 2 times, he was taking him out the game because Miguel wasn't a good dribbler. So Miguel had to catch and shoot when he caught it.
Man, that's a great story. He had to catch and shoot. He was limited on the catch and shoot.
Yes, he had.
Poor Miguel.
He couldn't dribble no more than 2 times, or coach was going to take him out.
Wow, that's a great story there. Jimmy, you got anything else for us?
Yeah, last point, and I like the rule. I don't think Dos Anjos and Zid Powell have any business taking the outside shot. The other thing is opening up options on the inside. I think Hamilton needs some more playing time. He has more of an offensive game as opposed to Kalu. And then also Jones needs much more time, playing time. This team is not an offensive juggernaut. One of the things Jones brings to the team is that mid-range consistent shot. Nobody else on the team has it. And if you're not going to be making threes, if Kalu can't provide offensively inside, get Jones some more playing time to open up the offensive options. I think that has to happen. Really disappointed in tonight's game. I would never in a million years have thought it would have been a blowout.
No, me neither.
Maybe the sickness thing is true. But I was extraordinarily disappointed today.
Yeah, me too. I mean, look, I chalked this one up as a dub for this UTEP basketball team, Jimmy, and I was very disappointed. First, to your first point about head coach Dana Dimmel and the local media. Look, the Joe Menches of the world and the Darren Hunts of the world, they're definitely, they're not around as they used to be, where they would come out and ask these pressing questions. And I think the reason is now the access has changed so much at the Division I football level or even college sports level. So when you don't hear some of the local media ask these tough questions week in and week out, it's because they've got to face the same coach every single week, and then if those questions aren't asked the previous week, what's going to change in the week after for them to actually answer that question? Point is, we all know it. We see the writing on the wall, and we think that this coaching staff is done when it's all said and done. However, if we talk on Tuesday and there's no coaching change made, then that is a call for concern. I'll say this, as far as the offensively challenge goes for the basketball side of things, I agree with the Elijah Jones side of things. I think their best lineup is actually Elijah Jones, Calvin Solomon, Tay Hardy, Zid Powell, and Otis Frazier. They're going to have to try to throw that combination out there. If you want to put Camper in there so you get a little bit more offense, so be it. But right now, that lineup right there, I feel, could be something where you can get a little bit more production and a little bit more movement from your offense. Now, the other thing about this is UTEP right now is currently in the bottom 25, actually bottom 15 in the country in their three-point percentage, 24% from beyond the arc, 24%. Jimmy, I don't care who you are. You're just not going to win a lot of games if you can't hit threes. Today's basketball, you go play pickup on any given weeknight. You got to hit threes. You got to hit shots. That's the bottom line. High school basketball, you got to hit shots. College basketball, you got to hit shots. The NBA comes down to what? The final shot, the final play. Who's going to take that big shot? Sal, do you feel like this team has a guy to take a big shot in the late game? Is it Tay Hardy? No matter what, because today, when they needed some big shots, they kind of turned to multiple options, and they didn't really have an answer.
I think just going off of body language and demeanor when they step on the floor, you go with the guy that gives off that energy the most. And I still think it's Zid Powell. I don't think anybody displays the type of confidence that he displays. But I think if you had to have somebody else in line, you got to go Tay Hardy. We saw it. I mean, I wouldn't even discredit or dispute anybody who says Tay Hardy first. He's shown that, he'll take that last shot. Granted, what happened to get there, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
He's also a trusted guy on Golding's roster as well. He's been here before. But if I have to go one, give me Powell, and then 2A, so to speak, probably Hardy, and then third, maybe Solomon.
Alberto, would you agree, or do you change anybody on that list? Final shot or to take a big shot in this basketball team? Where are you going?
No, I'm going Tay Hardy as of right now.
Okay. You just no question about it. Tay Hardy, number one.
Yeah, I think he's going to be your better scorer. If you need that bucket to win the game, I'm going to put it in the hands of my best scorer, and I think that's Tay Hardy right now.
Zay, any different opinions?
Yeah, I'm saying, if you're in that huddle and you need a shot and you're drawing up a shot, it's for Tay Hardy. But if you're driving down the court and you need a bucket, I think Zid Powell is going to get you a bucket. He's the most crafty guy on this team. He gets to the lane so well, and he's a good finisher. So I think that's how it would go.
Yeah, I thought he was still the UTEP's best overall player tonight, but you might get more upside and more, versatility for your shot selection if you look at Tay Hardy. So that's how I'd look at it right there. 915-505-6009. Next up is Paul on the phone lines. Paul, good evening. Welcome back to MinerTalk. How's it going?
Hey, guys. Great show as always. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Two things. The basketball, I still think this team's going to be okay. I like what I've seen so far. I mean, everybody has a bad game every once in a while, so we can just chalk this up to it wasn't their night. But I like the defense I've seen, and I think there's some games where they've shown they can score and shoot, which I think is better than last year's team when it comes to shooting overall. I wouldn't, freak out about the loss. I still think they're probably win 17, 19 games this year. And what I like is I keep seeing improvement. Now, on the football, I wish I could say the same thing, but it's totally a 180 on that. What I want to say right now, I guess, is going out to the AD, if he's listening. I checked out after the Aggie game. I said, I just can't see myself wasting my time coming to the games and spending my hard-earned money for the product I'm seeing. We've taken a step back last year, and then from last year to this year, I would say we really took 2 steps back because I was thinking they'd win 6-7 games at the beginning of the season. And the injuries, you can't use that as an excuse. Everybody knows that everybody has injuries. So, Mr. Center, if you're listening, you got to do the math. I mean, elementary kid can do the math. If there's no fans in the stands, you ain't got no money. You ain't got no money, you can't compete. You bring this coach back next year, I'll stay away another season if I have to. I know I'm not the only one to feel this way. You're lucky if you bring him back, then your job's on the line. Not just your coach, but you might be gone too. Because a small school like UTEP, they need that revenue from the attendance. And if you don't have the intelligence and IQ to figure out, like, this is so easy, nobody wants him here anymore, nothing personal, but he's not getting it done. So you want an empty stadium again next year? That's on you. That's all I got to say.
Okay, good stuff. Hey, Paul, appreciate the phone call, man. Thanks for weighing in. 915-505-6009. Jason, you need to head out of here. You've been gracious with your time. You hung in with us throughout the whole watch party at the district. I really appreciate it. Give me your final thoughts. UTEP men's basketball back in action next week. Texas A&M Corpus Christi Wednesday evening out at the Don Haskins Center. What do you want to see from the Miners and how they can rebound after this loss tonight? A 20-point loss. Their largest by far. I mean, they just lost to Bradley for their first game of the season, but Loyola Marymount beat them by 20 here tonight. What do you want to see from the Miners moving forward?
Just stick with it. Just as players, try not to take rush shots, Believe in the offense, trust the offense, keep it moving, keep cutting, keep doing what y'all have to do so y'all can find better shots and keep trying to make plays for each other. Okay. And that's it. Stick together. It's just one game. And they just got together this year with a lot of new guys. The good thing is that Coach had a lot of guys come back, so I think that's why they look a whole lot better than the previous 2 years. So they just got to stick with it, just keep shooting, get them extra shots up after practice, before practice, whatever it takes.
Yeah, I like it. Hey, Jason, it's always great to see you, man. Thanks for coming in by. Let our listeners know what you're doing for your training and how they can reach you.
I have my own gym called Jason Williams Basketball Academy here on the west side of El Paso. If you guys interested, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram, Jason Williams Basketball Academy, and you'll find me there if anybody's interested in training or U teams called JW Elite. I have 4th grade and up, so if anybody interested in that, I have great coaches, along with myself with developing. Just reach out and we'll see if we can help you out.
Hey, how about your boy OT? He's killing it right now at Socorro.
Yes, that's
Omar
my guy.
Thomas.
That's my guy. I just talked to him earlier. Said I'm going to have to come check him out, see if he can really coach. He might just have talent over there, and that he's not coaching. Maybe it's just talent.
I love it. Hey, we need more UTEP players back in El Paso, just like you, just like Omar Thomas, just like Connor Tucker, just like all the others doing great things. It's great to see you, Jason.
Man, thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you guys again.
Okay, we'll see you soon, Jason. Hey, we'll be right back after this. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Alberto, Zay, Sal, myself, we will all give one name that we'd be interested if the UTEP football job becomes open for them looking at here moving forward. MinerTalk continues, presented by the Oscar Arrieta Agency. More in a moment here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Special thanks again to Jason Williams for stopping by, UTEP legend, along with Sal Montes behind the glass, producing the show, screening the phone calls, throwing the beats on there, did UTEP football earlier, took a 15-minute break, coffee break or something, and then stepped right in doing MinerTalk.
You know what I did, and Zay can attest to this? After the game, I literally just walked down the hallway to get my steps in, man.
There you go. I love
have to.
I love it, Sal.
Take those turkey pounds off.
Get it somehow, right? That's right. Good stuff. We're also talking UTEP basketball. Zay's coming fresh off the basketball broadcast. So we could talk UTEP football, we could talk UTEP basketball, but I will say this. We will wind things down a little bit knowing that we don't have enough news. So everything that we talk about is a lot of hearsay, a lot of speculation, and not a lot of substance. So unfortunately, we don't have a lot of ammo to talk about with all this. Wednesday's basketball minor talk could have a lot of football minor talk in it as well. But nonetheless, we will still talk both of these things right now. Loyola Marymount defeats UTEP 67-47 in basketball, and then in football, Liberty crushed UTEP 42-28. That 28 is so misleading, by the way, guys. I mean, those garbage time touchdowns, nothing could get me more infuriated than garbage time touchdowns, especially the way that it happened for the Miners. So I won't even count that. I won't even look at that as like, hey, that was something that we can talk about for our Stanley Steamroller of the game, or our New Start Homes drive of the game. No way. We're not going to take any of those into account. We'll only take those that actually had the starters or those legitimate players playing. Let's go to social real quick before we get to our names, and we're going to ping around and talk just a name. If the UTEP football job is open, who would you like to be in that position and why? If you want to weigh in, 915-505-6009, or even the type of coach, if the job ended up being open, we'd like to hear some of your thoughts. Tristan Pence on basketball. The Miners will be facing zone defenses regularly moving forward. Coach Joe Golding and his staff need to work on the half-court offense over the next couple weeks. There's a great deal that needs to be addressed before conference games start. #MinerTalk. I agree. And maybe one of those things, Tristan, is just winning on the road, simply put. This is coming from Adrian at Enemy Win 3, my tocayo. We were told that this team was better recruiting class. It isn't. We were told this team was much improved. It isn't. We were told they will be in every game. They weren't. It's going to be another disappointing basketball season. #MinerTalk. It's a little early, Adrian. Let him have a bad game. And the Bradley game was a very good loss, okay? That's how I would carry it. A loss is a loss, but it was a better loss than other losses. So tonight was a bad night. I'll hold him to that. I'll hold him accountable for it, and let's see if they're better from it come Wednesday at the Don Haskins Center. Or if, like you mentioned, there's red flags, and we should start looking at them for the remainder of the season. Trey Chauvin, UTEP basketball had no offense as usual. UTEP will have a losing season again. You can book it. Horrible offensive basketball team. Man, brutal. I mean, it's just, come on. We're here in Game 7, so come on. Augustine, I can't wait for head coach Dana Dimmel to leave UTEP football. #Dimmel out. This coming from Augustine. Tough schedule for UTEP football. Did he want to play El Paso area high schools instead? Did he want to play 8th graders in flag football? Holy Cheetos. #MinerTalk. Our boy, El Paso Visuals Deportivos. Hey, chill out, dude. I'm a realist, and let's be real. Next season was going to be a rebuilding year for UTEP football anyway, due to the players leaving. So save the money and bring back head coach Dimmel. I'm sorry, Ivan. I got to read this again. Okay, I'm a realist. And let's be real, next season was going to be a rebuilding year for UTEP football anyway, due to the players leaving. So save the money and bring back Coach Dimmel. UTEP cannot afford a buyout, and doing so would only set back the coach and the entire program. #MinerTalk. Well, it depends, El Paso Visuals Deportivos. You're looking at it as if you know the athletic department budget, which you don't, and I don't know it either. So me saying something like UTEP can afford it is foolish, because I can't make that assessment. I can't make that judgment unless I know that UTEP right now has the money to pay and to actually buy out Dana Dimmel. Now, on the flip side of that, for you to say that this is going to save the money and actually hurt the program moving forward, well, how could you say that? How could you also speculate against the ticket revenue when they started to lose, how little fans actually showed up to the game, and when they were actually healthy, how little success they actually had on the field? So saying those things right there, both can be true, but both also could be untrue. And for you to say that, I think it's assuming a little too much already on what they have or what they don't have money-wise. And I think if it came to it, Ivan, and the big donors started to look at the program and how it's failing right now on the football side of things, they might fork up the dollars. They might do it themselves. So that's how I would look at it right there. This is coming from JK. Jim Center, please do what's right and fire Dana Dimmel. His time at UTEP has come to an end. All of El Paso is done with him. If you have any respect for UTEP and El Paso, please move on. This is from Ivan again from El Paso Visuals Deportivos. The only way a buyout can happen is if that Canadian guy who called into MinerTalk from a few games ago comes into town and writes a check like he said he would write. All right, Ivan, that was a good one. You bought yourself some time. Shout out to Keith from Winnipeg. Maybe Keith does have that. Maybe he has $1 million, Sal. He was saying like $7 million recently. Maybe he has just $1 million. UTEP will take just $1 million, right, Mike Rivera? They'll take just $1 million. Exactly. He's saying the same thing. He's emphatically saying they'll take $1 million if that's the case. That's right. Leo_Miners fan post this. Oh, let's go, Iowa State. I am always looking for excuses for UTEP, but Jerry Kill wanted to be in Las Cruces, and he didn't even give some of his money back to NMSU to help the program. Kill has also a past relationship with Mario Mocha. NMSU men's basketball, Mario did outdo UTEP. Kill might be there, and he keeps going with his post, Mike Price in some ways. The guy got a tattoo also after their bowl win. That's coming from Leo. That's hilarious. Good stuff, Leo. 915-505-6009, our telephone number to get into the program. Rip City Trades. We got to keep going through social. We got a lot more to get to. Maybe UTEP should hire a church choir next time they play Liberty at home. Same vibe?
I love it.
I love it. Why else would someone hire a mariachi and parade around a piñata? Hashtag MinerTalk. Just saying. I mean, does he have a point there, Sal? I think so. This is Esteban saying, I'm assuming next year we're playing Falwell in Virginia, but probably no beer for sale in the stadium, so stay home. That's a good one for the anti-Liberty talk there. This is also from Noah. How dare you, Liberty? 1 week from today, I'll be the biggest Liberty fan. That's coming from Noah. So there you go. Mike Cuviello. Our schedule, which turned out to be harder than first expected, was not some tough schedule either way. Dana Dimmel needs to be fired right now. That's coming in from Mike Cuviello, our old pal. This is Esteban. I brought it up before about the tough questions, and Robert Ukidi said, bring in Mac Leftwich. That's his name. All right, guys, let's ping around. Let's go around the room and let's talk a name, okay? Let's start off with you, Sal. I'm putting you on the spot.
Man.
I know. Let's just preface this by saying that Dana Dimmel has not been fired, has not been canned. He is still with this UTEP team as of right now, and we don't know if he's indeed going to leave or if he will come back. My expectations will be that he is not back in this UTEP football team, but who knows? That's my expectations. Who knows? I've seen crazier things happen. Sal, give me your name. If you had to pick a name to possibly take over this job, where would you go?
You know what? It's hard because I haven't done as much research as I would have liked, so there's only two names that are popping up. That's Coach Patterson, the former coach for TCU.
Okay, Gary Patterson, great name.
Patterson. Ronnie brought him up in a phone call not too long ago, and it made me think, right, about Jacksonville State and them going after Coach Rodriguez. Is it fair to put it in the same, let's say the parking lot? I don't want to say the same arena, but is it in the same parking lot where Jacksonville State says, hey, let's go after Coach Rodriguez? Is that kind of the same sentiment for Coach Patterson?
I think so.
Okay.
Because I think others would argue no, because Patterson had a bigger brand, had a bit whatever. I would disagree with that. I would say that Patterson maybe was a little overrated with his success at TCU, but if he was UTEP's coach, I think everybody would talk about all the accolades he had with the Horned Frogs. They'd talk about all the success that he had over there. And do you think he would actually want the job, though, Sal? That's another thing.
Yeah.
He's an offensive analyst, or not an offense. He's just an analyst on the Texas Longhorns coaching staff. Do you think he would like it?
I mean, I don't even know if he would like it or not. I think it's more so about where he's at in his life. Does he even want to coach again? I think that would be the bigger question to ask, is if he wants to coach again. But if so, I mean, you look at UTEP, a school that, there's that, I guess, quote unquote, Texas tie, if you want to, make anything appealing. But aside from that, you're presenting a rebuild to him. And if he does go back to coaching, how tough does he want that job to be? And I don't know if that's a fair question to ask, really, but I mean, this is going to be hey, I left Texas's first year in the SEC for this.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, Sal goes Gary Patterson. Let's check out what Zay has here on the program. Zay, let's go with you next. Zay, where are you going? And tell us a little bit why.
Yeah, Gary Patterson's probably the dream hire, right? But for me, I've done some research, right? I have a few names, and for me, one of the biggest names is Will Stein, Oregon offensive coordinator.
Wow, coming off the top rope. You said you were going to come off the top rope. That is off the top rope.
Yeah, former UTSA offensive coordinator, obviously found immense success with the Roadrunners when he was their offensive coordinator. He's led Oregon to an explosive offense. Bo Nix has taken a Heisman-type leap. And overall, I mean, he's just a really good. He has Texas ties. He has Texas high school football ties. He's a dream name. He's a younger coach. He would bring excitement to this program, and it's far-fetched, yes, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. And then I mean that'd be the guy for me. Obviously, I have other names, but I keep going. I could reel off 10 names.
Okay, so your first name is Will Stein, Oregon offensive coordinator. It's a great name, knowing that Oregon has had so much success on the football side of things this season, and has really shown a lot of things with what they could do on the football side. So I like that name a lot. Not to mention, it feels like Oregon's offense has gotten better and better as the weeks come on, and Bo Nix is a legitimate NFL draft pick when it's all said and done. So I like the name a lot. Give me one more name. If you had to give maybe another one that you would want to throw out there for Miner fans to maybe latch on to as far as the name goes for UTEP football, give me one more name.
Yeah. Obviously 1A, 1B, Patterson and Stein, but a one that people may not be thinking of, maybe one that nobody even would like, but it's Texas A&M defensive back coach TJ Rushing. He's had
off the top another one.
He's a really good. He's a former NFL player. He has wherever he's gone, he's been at Memphis, Arizona State as a assistant defensive coach, and his defenses have found success. So obviously you're not going for experience here. You're going for the name, an NFL guy who can probably bring, a lot of good recruiting. He was a part of that Texas A&M recruiting when they brought in, the number one class in the nation, the greatest class of all time, I think, until last year. So, he's definitely not the experience hire, but he has the name, he has the success, and it would be an interesting name to keep out there.
I like it a lot. Good stuff, Zay. Let's go to you, Alberto. Give me one name for the next UTEP head coach if this job ended up being open.
Anyone that knows me knows I'm habitually delusional, so I'm going to go big name, go Jimbo Fisher.
Wow. Okay, why do you think Jimbo Fisher would have success at UTEP?
I think that he could use some of the recruiting he's already done. For Texas A&M, he had that crazy recruiting class that Zay was talking about. I think that you could just try to transfer in, bring him in, and then try to see if he can't lure some more players. And I think the big name that he is going to get some guys that were previously ignoring the school to maybe look our way. And on top of that, you already have his paycheck will be subsidized by what he's getting paid by Texas A&M. So you bump him to like $1 million a year. Texas A&M takes care of the rest.
I mean, how are you? I mean,
wow.
half $1 is not going to do it. I see what you're saying. He can live off of A&M's retirement, but come on, $500,000.
Welcome to the show, Mike Rivera.
I mean, isn't Art Briles' kid not doing anything right now either? You might have a better chance with him.
Actually, and hello to our chief engineer, Mike Rivera, who's making a great cameo appearance, by the way. We saw a great win by the Texas Longhorns last night. His team over the Texas Tech Red Raiders. One of the names that was being floated out on social media was Texas Tech offensive coordinator Zach Kitley for this possible job.
Yeah,
now, after watching yesterday, I don't know, though. That offense couldn't do anything against Texas.
Well, the other thing, too, is you have a team that, I wouldn't necessarily say yesterday's performance is an example of his finest work.
Okay.
And the other thing, too, is even if Tech had a 6-5 season this year, that's a lot better than 3-9.
Yes, there you go. That's very
just
true.
Saying.
Very, very true. They're still winning games. They're not just winning against. Hey, Texas is also one of the best. So that's one of the things we can hold the Texas Longhorns to as far as their standard goes. So I'm totally with you on that, Mike. Too much money for Jimbo Fisher, though. That's the bottom line.
Much.
Yeah, I mean, look at all the money he made at Texas A&M. But I like the option.
I like
there.
the thought, though.
Yeah, and I like the thought, Alberto. My thought. Okay, I'm coming off the top rope like Zay. UNLV offensive coordinator Brennan Marion. Oh, man, off the top rope. This week, he interviewed for the San Diego State job. He is young. This is a UNLV football revolution this year. We saw them first person against the Miners. They have a quarterback who wasn't actually that highly regarded, but he's thrown over 2,600 passing yards this year. They're averaging over 35 points a game. I want an offensive guy. If I'm this UTEP football program and looking at the next hire, I want somebody who's going to bring excitement on the offensive side, who's going to score a lot of points. Brady Hoke will not come back. He's retiring from San Diego State. And Marion, I just feel like he also was the offensive coordinator at Howard, and Howard, he had a go-go offense. It's triple option with a spread passing concept. Zay is he's losing himself right now. He's beside himself. He couldn't contain himself from how upset he was for me saying Brennan Marion. No, not a fan whatsoever. Oh, a fan.
I wasn't a fan at first, and then you said triple option and spread offense and go off. Oh my gosh, I was like, what?
Yes.
I need that. I need that in my life. I need to watch football like that.
Well, if my dad's listening, he would just say that UTEP doesn't have the personnel to match up with that kind of offense, which is probably true as well. I mean, but then again, UTEP didn't have the personnel to match up with the Dana Dimmel offense, and they still try to run it. Brennan Marion, that's my name right there, UNLV offensive coordinator. Not a sexy name, not the name that you would kind of go to, but definitely a name who's making waves in college football right now. Brennan Marion, that's definitely mine right there. Hey, Clemson is officially bowl eligible. I think they played themselves out of the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. They just won right now. Brennan Marion, by the way, 36 years old, would be a very, very young coach if he ends up getting a head coaching role this year. Let's go back to the phones right now. 915-505-6009. The mayor, Eddie Morelos, is next up on the phone lines. Eddie, thanks for weighing in on the show. What's going on?
We got the mayor, as we talked there earlier. My choice for the coaching position that you were just having the discussion about.
Yes.
I'm going to go off the top rope like y'all did.
Okay.
David Shaw, former head coach of
All
Stanford.
right. Eddie. Let's be real.
Coach at Sacramento State.
That man, David Shaw, is going to coach in the NFL. Mark my words. This upcoming cycle. I'm calling it. I'm going to call my shot. David Shaw, NFL. That's the kind of upside he is.
You guys were going off the top rope. I thought I would too. He was a former coach at Sacramento State. Why not dream big? I mean, hey, work the impossible, like my friend Alberto over there. You know.
I like it. I like it. It's a funny name. It's a funny name.
I want to say this, though, on the other side of things. MinerTalk, another great football season of content that you guys have brought. You put together a wonderful team, Adrian, and keep up the great work. I'm so excited for Miner basketball now and all the great things that you guys will talk about there. Keep on doing what you guys are doing. And let's keep on enjoying UTEP athletics, as you guys have made it very enjoyable for me, someone who's outside of UTEP. So I really thank you guys so much.
Hey, thank you, Eddie. It's always great to have you as a friend of the program and always somebody who supports us here as MinerTalk continues. So I appreciate you always listening in, Eddie. It's always great to talk to you.
Y'all have a good night. I'm going to keep on listening, all right?
All right, thanks, man. I appreciate it. 915-505-6009, our telephone number to get into the program. Alex Nicolas texting into the program. Give me Marion or give me death to my UTEP football fandom. UNLV was 10-2 against the spread this year. I love that. I didn't even know that, but that is awesome. So good stuff for UNLV football. Good stuff, Alex Nicolas. This coming from Esteban. He wants Urban Meyer. Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff there. interesting stuff there. Let's keep it moving. 915-505-6009. Joe Chacon. Haven't seen these posts yet, but he says, since you all don't want to read my other posts, haven't seen any of your posts, Joe. I'm sorry. Here are my 2 cents. Dana Dimel's a nice guy, but he doesn't hold himself accountable for losses. Too much blame and excuses. I would have loved to hear what Golding would have said after tonight's football loss or basketball loss, which would have sounded like, quote, we didn't have them up and prepared tonight, and it's my fault. Basketball will be okay this year and get back to the dance. As for Dimel, deuces. Hashtag reppin' from Colorado now. Hashtag Sal is my pal. How about that one, Sal? You made the hashtag list. Sal is my pal. That's his list right there.
That's my buddy right there. I mean, we go way back.
There you go. I love it. Joe Chacon also said, might be one of the most depressing minor talks tonight. Both teams blown out. Most likely the end of the Dimel era. Golding wasn't able to adjust. Other teams showing us what it's like to have continued success. Thankful for all that I have. Just wish that at some point UTEP Athletics can get it together and find the right captain to steer the ship. Coming from Joe Chacon, a sad Joe Chacon, I hear you. Callaway, if Jim Center decides to bring Dana Dimel back, I would advise him to resign as athletic director. It would be moronic to even consider bringing back Dana Dimel. That's coming from him right now here on the show. This is coming in from... actually, I think we've read all these, so good stuff, guys. Let's keep it moving. Oh, this one coming from Christopher Lara. If UTEP is confident in beating them that they should, and that's talking about Liberty and bringing a church choir to Virginia next year. So there you go. Hey, our telephone number, 915-505-6009. If you want to chime in with a late phone call, now's the time to do it. 600 ESPN El Paso on social and 600 ESPN El Paso everywhere as we continue. We are going to pause 10 seconds for station identification. When we come back, we're going to hand out some awards, and we're going to start wrapping this one up. We'll do awards for both men's basketball and for football, even though both teams lost. As you're listening to Miner Talk, presented by the Oscar Arieta Agency. More in less than 10 seconds right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Miner Talk continues right here, 915-505-6009. Let's get out to some awards here on the program. First off, let's get out to our Stanley Steamer, Steamroller of the Game, and then we'll talk about some of these players as well. We're going to go on the defensive side for the Miners. It is going to Tyrese Knight. 15 total tackles for the senior. He had 11 in the first quarter, and I thought, man, could he shatter the all-time tackle record in a single game? But that didn't end up happening. He did have a quarterback hurry, and he was only, I think, about 2.5 tackles for losses away from the all-time program record as well. What a staple Tyrese Knight has been, not only for this whole season, but his entire career for UTEP. He is our Stanley Steamroller of the Game, and they are located here in El Paso and Las Cruces. Locally owned and operated, Stanley Steamer proudly provides professional cleaning services here in El Paso and the surrounding communities. Since they started back in the 40s, Stanley Steamer has served homes and businesses throughout the country, trusted by generations to clean your carpet, clean your air ducts, clean your tile, your grout, your area rugs, and plenty more. They make it easy to schedule a cleaning service with their instant quote tool online and their 24/7 availability. Give them a call, 915-591-2905, or visit their website to book your cleaning with Stanley Steamer today. Next up, our Wind Supply El Paso hot hand of the game on the football side of things. It's got to go to the only hot hand, and it is Kelly Akari. 5 catches, 109 receiving yards, and 64 was the long catch that he had from Cade McConnell, who threw it his way. He is the hot hand of the game, and that's brought to you by Wind Supply El Paso. Hey, if you're looking for a furnace to warm up your home, check out Champion Furnaces from Wind Supply El Paso. Champion Furnaces are our go-to here on Miner Talk. If you want to check out your nearest Champion dealer, visit the Find a Dealer tab at windsupplyelpaso.com. Let's go around the room. One final thing that you want to say about UTEP football. Let's ask this. I'll ask this to the 4 of you guys, or 3 of you guys, now that we lost Jason and we lost Mike as well. how will you remember this year's football program and football team? Zay, we'll start with you. How do you remember the 2023 UTEP football season?
Disaster. Nothing. I mean, it's a disaster. We're talking about 9 wins, 8 wins possibly for this team, and it was a disaster from the Kelly Akari drop touchdown in the first game against Jacksonville State, and it's been a disaster since.
Sal, over to you. How do you describe and how do you remember this UTEP football team?
I think at its peak, I think I'm going to remember this team as a team that overachieved and, raised the expectations, rightfully so, with the results. We saw it in COVID where, hey, this team is improving, and then saw them enjoy the fruits of their labor. But after that loss to, was it FAU or FIU on the road where they lost on the last second field goal or they gave it up? You know which one I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That was kind of the downfall to it, and we got to see them at their highest. We saw them at their lowest a lot more. So I think it's the nail in the coffin. That's how I'm going to remember this year.
Nail in the coffin year for this coaching staff. Alberto, let's go to you. How do you remember this football season?
I think a year with high hopes that eventually get disappointed. That's just on the sporting side of things, but on just like a broader picture side of things, UTEP football graduated 10 seniors, some great guys like Praise Mehule, Tyron Knight, and I think that all things considered, we didn't get as many wins as we wanted, but those guys are some great guys, and they're going to be able to say they were a part of the program and they were here in the city, and it formed them into a better man than they were when they got here, and I think that's what counts.
I think what we can say about the seniors is they deserved a lot better from this. They deserved a lot more. They deserve more wins, and Praise Mehule is going to go down as the program's all-time sack leader. Tyrese Knight might finish the season as the leader in total tackles or even solo tackles across not just Conference USA but across the country. Kobe Hilton could play at some kind of level, at the professional level, and I'll throw Praise and Tyrese Knight in that conversation. On the offensive line, I mean, Elijah Klein, Andrew Mayer have started so many games for the Miners over their time. Zuri Henry has played so many games for the Miners over his time. Yet they didn't. They were a 3-win football team. You are what you are, and that is a bad football program, a bad football team. That is what UTEP was to finish out the year. I will use the word frustration. My dad used that earlier. I'll kind of echo it. I think this was a frustrating year for UTEP football. Frustrating because the expectations were high. Frustrating because you had upperclassmen across the roster. No, sure, you only graduated 10 seniors, but you had a lot of juniors on this roster who had a lot of starts under their belt, like Deion Hankins, even you could even throw Kelly Akari in that conversation as well. Yet UTEP 3 wins on the season, well short expectations, beyond disappointing, and for that I'll call it frustrating because there's no reason why this team should have won just 3 games this year. I like how Sal said it. Maybe they overachieved at some point. Maybe they overachieved in that 2021 season, and what we saw from these last 2 years was really who this program was, and that is middle of the pack, mediocre, subpar, and not going to ever be a contender or even put up a winning record in a normal season. So, and remember, hey Sal, remember that we were on MinerTalk every single game in that 2021 season. And I remember how exciting that La Tech game was when they became bowl eligible and started off the season 6-1, and after that one, they finished the season 7-6, so it wasn't like even that season they could ride a lot of highs and talk about all the greatness that they had that year. That year they had a lot of struggles and a lot of adversity too, and it came at the second half of the season.
Yeah, and I remember there was even build-up for a big showdown in El Paso. You all remember the
UTSA.
The tailgate game at the, UTSA anyway. Nonetheless, though, from that season, right, that game was built up, and rightfully so. I mean, I don't know the legitimacy of it. As far as college football game day coming to El Paso, I think it turned out to be false, but still generated a lot of buzz and excitement for college football fans in general. So I think that was really peak UTEP football, that Louisiana Tech game, and social media. The marketing team for UTEP did exceptional. They promoted the heck out of it, and they got fans to go out there and support. But unfortunately, just really didn't come to fruition at the end of the tenure.
Good point there, Sal. Hey, I want to flag one more thing for football, and it just broke right now. Mark Stoops is the next head coach at Texas A&M. He just got hired, okay, guys? Who was Mark Stoops' head coach in 2000 at Houston? Dana Dimmel. That is exactly right. Maybe there's a Stoops-Dimmel connection in Texas A&M. What do you think, Zay?
I hope Texas A&M fans, Dana Dimmel, their new offense coordinator, he'll call some fun plays for them, some very fun plays.
I don't think that's going to happen. I'm just floating out this idea right now. Mark Stoops, Dana Dimmel. Hey, they've had ties before, but then again, Dana Dimmel's had a lot of ties with a lot of different coaches. And I would say this wouldn't be the first time that we saw in the last 5 years a UTEP coach leave their post to become an assistant elsewhere, a la Rodney Terry. There you go, Sal. That's for you.
You know what? After this summer, we can say it's probably a SEC thing.
Ah, that's true. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, now we're done with football, right? Everybody's good with football. Okay, let's move over to basketball. UTEP is now 5-2 on the season. Loyola Marymount defeated them today by 20 points. Timothy Cantrell, player of the game. I have to go with, man, this is a tough one. I'll go Zid Powell, even though I didn't think he had a terrific game. 9 points, 6 rebounds, 22 minutes. Didn't play a lot. It was kind of weird, especially in the first half. Didn't see Zid Powell play a ton at all. He was +5 today in terms of efficiency. Also turned the ball over 4 times. But Zid Powell in this game, when they needed buckets in close moments of this game, whenever UTEP tried to get it within I think under 10 points. I think they cut it to as close as 9 at one point in the second half. Zid Powell was a large contributor at that point, so we'll give it to him. He is our Timothy Cantrell Realty player of the game. And thanks to Timothy Cantrell, actually, if you want to check out the latest listings, if you want to check out also what he has as far as the showings and also some of the new houses that have just hit the market, check him out on Instagram at Timothy Realty. Timothy Cantrell, your trusted real estate agent with over 20 years of experience. He's got vast knowledge, unwavering dedication, and valuable resources. He's here to make your real estate dreams come true. Give him a call, 915-204-8441. Call or text, and don't forget to follow him on Instagram. Again, it's Timothy Realtor for the latest listings and tips. Let's now go over to our hot hand of the game, brought to you by Wind Supply El Paso for basketball. Gosh, it was tough. I mean, it really was. I think I have to go, if I had to go with anybody in this one, we might have to go with a spark off the bench, and that has to probably be Corey Camper. 5 points, 2 of 8 from the floor. Maybe you could give it to Elijah Jones. Maybe you can give it to Sebastian Cole, but I think we have to go the Corey Camper route, knowing that he actually got some points on the board. Got some rebounds, too. 3 rebounds in this one, and contributed with the steal in 23 minutes of action. It's hard to come by, guys. It was a tough game for a lot of these UTEP basketball players, and I think everybody's ready to come back home to El Paso from Los Angeles off this trip here. So, nonetheless, Loyola Marymount beats them 67-47, and our hot hand of the game will go to Corey Camper Jr. Let's keep things moving. 915-505-6009. By the way, Miner basketball plays against they play against Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Now, last year's Islanders team was coached by Steve Lutz, and he had that team rolling in a good way. He is now with Western Kentucky. He is their next head coach over there, and now the Islanders are with Jim Shaw, their next coach out of the Southland Conference. This is the first time he's been a head coach throughout his career, and they're off to a tough start. 2-4 on the year. Texas A&M Corpus Christi. They recently lost to LIU, the Sharks, and the Sharks are 1-5 on the season, by the way. So Texas A&M Corpus Christi, pretty bad team right now to start things off. 2 wins that they have are against teams who aren't even in Division I hoops. So they're looking for their first win against a Division I opponent. And next Wednesday, UTEP, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, they'll do battle, and we'll have it for you here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Before we wind it up, we're going out to our pal, Augustine. He'll close out the show for us. Augustine, I'm sure you have a lot of coaching candidate names, but instead of going to those, let's just get your thoughts. Good evening, my friend. What's going on?
Hey, good evening, Adrian. Good evening, Zay. And my pal, Sal. Just throwing that out there.
We also have Alberto here, too, so we got another member as well. So we got a full house.
Full house, wow. Hey, that's more brain power than Dana Dimmel has. Well, that's pretty good. But
4 brains than 1? Okay, I hope so. Jeez.
Yeah. Adrian, here's my question to you.
you were talking about possible coaching coming to UTEP for football. Which is a real, which is your real expectation of it, and unfortunately the minor AD didn't come out yesterday and said, you know what, thank you, Dana, thank you for these years, and have a nice afterlife after UTEP, but that's it. And the speculation of him going out and recruiting is just it's just scary. What kind of players want to come to El Paso now with the uncertainty of him just being 1 year and then out?
Well, actually, you bring up an interesting point, Augustine. The possibility about recruiting. So let's say you are coming back if you're Dana Dimmel, and you brought up a thought in my head. If you are Dana Dimmel and you had this, well, then why is there only one player who is being there's only one player who is being sought after and recruited, and that is Gael Ochoa. There's only one player right now out of the high school ranks who's being recruited in this early recruiting period. What does that tell you? In my opinion, that tells you that the writing is on the wall, and that's telling you that either A, recruits are not buying any of the UTEP stock right now, and they think that there's a coaching change going to happen, so they need some kind of reassurance, or they need some kind of transparency from the administration to understand that Dana Dimmel will be here, or B, this coaching staff said, hey, we need reassurance. We need to know that we're going to be here, and then we'll go out and recruit the players. Regardless, Augustine, they're behind the eight ball. If they go with a new coach, if they go with the current coach, they are behind the eight ball because they only have one single commit for the upcoming recruiting class at the early period time, and that's uncharacteristic. That's unlike UTEP. So what do you sell them on? You don't sell them on the fact that you have a program that's hoping to be on the upswing. No, you sell them on maybe a change in staff, a change in regime, if that ends up being the case.
Yeah, and that's the scary part. I mean, are we going to have the players come in to be able to replace the ones that went out? And the good juniors that are left, are they going to stay and not go to the transfer portal? That's the other thing nobody has talked about.
Well, I mean, the transfer portal is, for me, if there's a coaching change, it's a given. I mean, you have to figure, and that's also one of the ways that you can actually apply for a waiver and get them granted, is if you have that change in your coaching staff, or you have a change within your regime as far as your players go, or your coaches go on your staff, your head coach goes. That's the one way that these guys are actually able to be instantly eligible. So there you go. That's another thing to mention.
Yeah, that's another. And on basketball, I feel basketball had a tough couple of days. There's a bug going around, and if that's, I don't know if that's if that really bogged them down or anything. They just in basketball, there's comes a point in time where all of a sudden your body can't handle it. But I mean, Adrian, do you buy the thing that 18 through 22-year-olds get tired?
Yes. I mean, especially with that kind of defensive intensity that they play with, I do actually. I do feel like that is one of those things that they do. They can have fatigue. Everybody's human, so yeah, I do think so. And they play an intense style of basketball. Maybe that's a coaching thing too. They're playing full court pressure at times, and that's. I'm not giving excuses, right? Because I think that everybody should be ready. I think that I hold this team to a high standard, and I still think they should have won tonight. But at the same time, they are human. They have been on this road swing for a while. They are coming off the Thanksgiving break. So, I'm ready to see them come back to town, and let's see what they can do in these next two matchups. The real game I'm circling, of course, is for this UTEP basketball team is Abilene Christian, because we're not going to really know much from Texas A&M Corpus Christi, not going to tell much from Oregon. Abilene Christian, December 17th is the game I'm circling. That's on the road, and that's going to be another test when we get to see how this team does away from the Don Haskins Center and how they kind of respond after this 1-2 road swing right here.
Yeah, completely agree, Adrian, and I just got to say that great MinerTalk football season, guys, and hats off to you to all of you for listening to all the Miner fans. And we thought it was going to be one of those seasons that everybody's happy, but look at the way it turned out, and you guys kept the ball rolling with no ands, ifs, or buts, and that I commend you, and keep up the good work, and can't wait for MinerTalk with basketball and being hugely competitive and competing for that title bid.
Man, how nice of you, Augustine. Thank you. That's the Thanksgiving cheer coming your way. So I appreciate it, Augustine. Thanks for weighing in on the show. 915-505-6009 to get into the program. 600 ESPN El Paso, everywhere. Guys, let's go winding thoughts on basketball. What do you want to see from this team from tonight going into Texas A&M Corpus Christi? Zay, since you were on the broadcast, we'll go with you first, and then we'll go to Alberto, and Sal will close it up with you. So you go first, Zay.
Yeah, I just want to see them, clean up unforced turnovers. The amount of unforced turnovers they had, just it felt like brain farts at times, overthrown passes, stepping on the line out of bounds. Clean that up. That's stuff that we should have left last year. And just get ready, and face adversity head on. Let's see how they rebound from a loss like this.
Alberto, what do you want to see from this team moving forward?
I just want to see them improve their great defense that they've been playing and just improve on the shot selection.
Okay, easy enough. Sal, what do you want to see from this team?
I was answering the lines. We got Luis on line one, so we'll get him up in a bit.
Cool.
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we want to see what do you want to see from this team moving forward? UTEP basketball. Yes.
I want to see them take better care of the ball and generate some type of offensive rhythm. And I'm going to say offensive rhythm because I think they play with rhythm elsewhere. They're solid in transition. When they're locked in defensively, they become a different monster. But if they can score in the half court and generate some true offensive points, that'd be something that we could chalk up as big improvement.
Okay, I like it. Let's go to Luis, who's next on the phone lines, 915-505-6009. Luis, good evening. What's happening?
Good tidings. Shalom.
Oh, shalom. Luis, what's going on, my friend? How are you? Talk to me some UTEP basketball. Give me some UTEP basketball stuff.
Oh, man, let me tell you something. I just heard we've been very busy. We've been on the road. What happened? Did UTEP lose?
UTEP lost both games, my friend. UTEP lost both games, both basketball. They lost basketball by 20 points. Football, it could have just been 1 million. I mean, we'll just say it like that.
My alma mater, I knew Coach Haskins pretty good, the great players, basketball players, Willie Worsley, Bobby Joe Hill, I knew him well. My great friend who just passed, how long was it that Willie, what's his name? We used to teach together, He was a PE instructor at Alamo and lower in the second ward. How shameful it is for
Willie
me.
Cager.
Willie Cager, beautiful person, and I was teaching fourth grade. That was about 20 years ago. I mean, we love our minors. We are sincerely. We hope that they improve. What is your final opinion on the minors, on the basketball and football?
Well, I'm super happy that you teed me up like this, Luis, because I was going to give out my final thoughts. So thank you for teeing me up. I heard your thoughts. You're disappointed about 2 losses, but I'm disappointed about 1 loss, and that's basketball. I knew that the football team was going to lose. Basketball, a 20-point loss on the road in LA. They were 1-2 on this road swing. Not great. If something was going on, sure, I'll take that. But they're also a team that's 5-2 on the year. I'm not panicking like some of our other listeners. Our other people on social media are. They're calling this team, questioning the recruiting class, questioning the validity of them, or whether or not this is good. So, no, I'm not going to go that route. I'm going to say let's wait and see. Let's talk to me after Abilene Christian. I think that'll be a big tell-all. I'll circle that game. We're not going to find out about this team much from the Texas A&M Corpus Christi game coming up on Wednesday, nor will we on Western New Mexico game. Maybe a little bit on Oregon to see if they've got some fight in them on the road, but Abilene Christian, that's a game I've got circled. The Wildcats are 3-3 on the year, just lost a game to Missouri State. Let's see what UTEP could do in a couple weeks when they go on the road and take on Abilene Christian. But for now, that'll do it for us tonight. For Sal Montes, for Zay Galindo, for Alberto Reta, I'm Adrian Broadus. Oh, and for Mike Rivera, our chief engineer. I'm Adrian Broadus saying so long. Thanks for listening to Miner Talk, presented by the Oscar Arieta Agency. We'll be back on Wednesday here on 600 ESPN El Paso.